Hey Stampers, Kim from stampingandperfection.com. Welcome to my craft room. I am excited because I got this month's My Monthly Hero card kit, and I really love these card kits. They just always come in such a pretty little package, and you know, a lot of times they'll send these extras that are really wonderful, but you always get a full-size stamp set and coordinating die, and I really like that. And this one I'm especially excited about because it's fairies, and I really love fairies, so I'm pretty excited about that. And here's the die, so you can see it's a good size set. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I definitely want to do something with one of the fairies. I love this little sleeping fairy. I mean, just beautiful. And I think it would look really pretty with, a Distress Oxide blended ink background. And I'm also excited because it comes with, like this month, the papers are just beautiful. Look at these papers. Like these are they all have this sheen to them, and look at the variety. You get two, and this one, these are the sheens on the other side of that. Look how pretty those are. Like they look like fairy dust covered papers. Like those are just gorgeous card bases. And this month's kit came with my favorite brand of jelly roll pen, the Sakura jelly roll pen. I love these jelly roll pens, so I'm super excited to get another one of those. And it came with really pretty clear sequins, and these are the sequins without the holes in them, so I'm excited about that because who has enough embellishments? You never have enough embellishments. And then here's the other thing I'm super excited about. This was a thank you stamp set, and on the back it says, "Thank you for being a loyal customer and subscriber. Happy holidays from all of us at Hero Arts." That was free. That was really nice. I love when stamp companies send you something free, and I love that most of the time I place an order, I get a little free item or I get free shipping. I really like either of those options. Works for me, so I'm very excited about that. I always think that's a great find. So let me pull out the stuff I'm going to use to do a little fairy card. So to start with, I'm going to pull out a couple of things. I'm pulling out my blenders, my blending tools, and I'm pulling out 4 Distress Oxides. I'm going to do Mermaid, Lagoon, Peacock Feathers, Fossilized Amber, and Seedless Preserves. So we'll see how, I might actually not use the Mermaid Lagoon. We'll see. I've also cut down a piece of this Canson Bristol paper. This is bright white. I cut it at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I really like this paper for blending because it's very smooth, and I like that it's bright white. I also like that I can get it at my local craft store for a pretty reasonable price. So I like to start with the yellow. So I'm going to start with the Fossilized Amber and just blend this a little bit around the page. So I'm going to start off my card, and I'm just going to blend that a little bit around the page, just like that. And then before that has too much of a chance to dry, I'm going to pull out, I think I'm going to pull out the Seedless Preserves, or maybe the Mermaid Lagoon. Notice that I'm storing, I have a small piece of Velcro on the bottom, so I'm storing my foam tape right on top of that. The nice thing about the Distress Oxide inks is that the ink pad is really deep, so you can do that without, you know, affecting future stamping. So I'm going to just swirl this around, and these colors blend absolutely beautifully. so you can blend these round marks out. And one of the beautiful things about using the Bristol paper is that it really makes blending a lot easier. Okay, so got a lot of my paper covered there. Let's bring in the Seedless preserves. You can tell I've used these colors a lot because I've already used the sponges or the little blending foams on them. So I'm going to come in behind this one and get some of the spaces I haven't gotten and kind of blend them all together a little bit. And I like to blend a little bit until I get rid of the lines. I'll make it really light in here and light up around the top. I'm going over that yellow actually gives me a lot of colors in there. I think I want to, it looks a little bit too rainbowy for what I want to do, so let me pull out the peacock feathers. This is a pretty color. So I'm just going to go over the top of some of the other colors with this, just to kind of tone them down a little bit, because the Seedless preserves is kind of bright. I still want to be able to see that in the background, and I still want to see a hint of that yellow. And notice that I did not use any green, and I did not use any orange. So blending them together, you can get some really pretty effects. Now, it really wasn't my intent to create what looks like a complete rainbow. Not in the correct orders either, I might add. But that's okay. Okay, so I didn't really intend to get the whole rainbow effect, but I did, and I'm okay with that because I'm using fairy stuff, so I think that that will be pretty fun. Now, I want to wipe this up. So I'm just going to pull out a baby wipe. And then I have my microfiber cloth. I'll go over the top so I don't get my paper wet. Alright, now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to pull out my mini Misty. Pull out my mini Misty, and one of the things that I actually quite like about this stamp set and is that it's got a lot of sentiments, and I really like the sentiments, so I thought that some of them might combine together to make kind of a pretty background. So it's a little dreamy looking because that's sort of what they all say. And I really love the believe. So I'm going to stamp that in the background, and I may actually use that as a sentiment in some way. Sending happy fairy wishes your way. May all your wishes come true. I like that one. Never stop dreaming. I like that one. And maybe I want to use this in my larger Misty. Now that I'm thinking about it, what else do I have here? Sending happy fairy wishes your way. Wish you the best. No wishes too big or too small. So I've laid out the sentiments. I'm going to use those as a background. And I'm thinking that I want to bring out the blue a little bit more. So I'm going to take, actually I'm going to leave that on there, I think, and I'll ink it up in two different places. But before I do that, I wanted to actually spritz this. I'm using my distress sprayer, and I want to spritz it and give it the opportunity for the water to kind of move the ink around a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to just blot it so it sort of stops it a little bit, and it stops the reaction, and it actually gives it kind of a super fun effect. I'm going to hit this with my heat tool to dry the paper because I want to do the stamping next. Okay, now you'll notice I kept flipping it back and forth. That sort of helps to keep it from warping as you're drying it, which is kind of a nice thing. So I really love this Peacock Feathers color, so I'm going to take this, and I've laid out all the words in my Misty, and I've laid out when I blended, I sort of unintentionally created this circular pattern, and it's lighter over here. I've selected the fairy that actually is holding, I don't know whether that's a wand or a dandelion. It looks like a wand. So I'm going to make that wand, I'm going to place that wand so it's right in that light spot I accidentally got there. That'll work out perfectly. And I can put one of these up here. So I'm going to ink up, I'm going to put this over her because I don't want to ink her in the Peacock Feathers. I'm going to do this in the Peacock Feathers. And it's funny because I don't often stamp with the Distress Oxides. Usually I use them for techniques, but they really do stamp beautifully. And they stamp very nicely on top of each other. Like, you can actually use the Distress Oxides on like a dark black piece of cardstock and you'll get a beautiful image. Because they are not transparent like regular dye inks. Since they have a little bit of pigment ink in them, these are not transparent. And I want that to show up a little bit more, so I'm going to hit it one more time. And hopefully it'll all be lined up. Okay, and that actually shows up kind of pretty. It's supposed to be a little bit subtle, and I really want to get the end of that dreaming there, so let me just push that down. My magnet, oh, there we go, got it. Alright. Now I could add more of that to the bottom, but what I want to do next, and I'm going to grab that, baby wipe and wipe these guys all up. dab them off. And then I also want to hit the, can you see how wet that ink is there? From the sentiment, you can see the shine on it. That's because it's wet. So I want to dry that before I do the next step. Now, I have a lot of color on my card, so I thought it would be really nice to have a little bit of contrast. So for the next step, and I'm going to make sure this is really tucked in the corner of my Misty, so I can stamp this twice if I want to. I'm going to take my Altenew permanent black ink. This is my favorite black ink. You could use any black ink. I just happen to love this one. It's the one I reach for all the time. And I'm going to stamp her in black. And I'm probably going to need to stamp her a couple of times so she shows up really well. And in between each inking, I'm going to push that paper down or make sure that paper is still nice and snug in the corner of my Misty. And this ability to be able to stamp more than one time in over the top of the same image is my favorite thing about using the Misty. Now, one last thing, and now this is a little wet, so again, I'm just going to hit this with the heat tool so I don't smear it. Now, one last thing I want to do is I want to take the stamp set has a lot of dandelions, and it has these little dandelion seedlings that images or stamps that I want to use, and I'm going to use the same peacock feather. And I'm going to just stamp this randomly in a couple places. Oh, crash. Wipe my fingers off before I smear that all over the place. This ink is so pretty. Isn't that a pretty color? It's like a blue-green. So, so pretty. So I'll just stamp these around sort of diagonal across the card. I always like the way that looks. I'm going to save this spot down here for there you go. I'm going to save this spot down here for that believe sentiment because I really like that. And I think I'm going to heat emboss that. And I do want to put this on one of the backgrounds. These backgrounds, these shimmery backgrounds are so pretty. Like that pink is very pretty. And then the yellow. Oh geez, this is sort of a, it's almost like a light lavender. That is really pretty too. And the gold, of course, the gold will give it almost an ethereal look. This is like, almost like a citrine color. I think that might be a little too much. I kind of like the gold. And I think what I'm going to do is cut this card front down a tiny bit. Now, one thing that I do wish that I had taken a little bit more care with is that I wish the sentiments don't look quite straight. So I kind of wish I'd taken a little bit more care making sure they're straight, because I was using my Misty and it would have been pretty easy to actually line those up so that they were like perfectly straight. But maybe as I trim it, I can at least trim it in a way that will allow me to make them straighter. So I'm going to trim this down to 4 inches. And then I'm going to trim 1/4 of an inch off the bottom of this. sort of want those words to be like random fairy words. Alright, and then I'm going to cut this down. And it should be, this is 5 1/2. I'll just cut it at 4 1/4. So this will be the same side as a card topper, or the front of a card. And I'm going to pop this up on a piece of craft foam, which I need to cut. To attach this fun foam, one of the things I want to be careful of is to really get the edges so that when I stick it down, it doesn't have any warped spots. I've noticed that, like when I use this, I love this 1/2 inch 3M foam tape, but I've noticed that if I just put 3 strips down, then it'll sag in between the strips. So especially when I use a lot of watercolor techniques, or in this case I use the distress sprayer to get the water drop effects and to have my ink move around the paper a little bit, and that can warp the paper a little bit. So I want to make sure when I put this down that I get all the edges really, really well. Like I want to make sure they all have adhesive, and I'm going to go along these edges as well. I feel like when I first started using not the fun foam, but the 3M foam tape, I made sure I did it like this, and I never had that problem. But recently I've started using a little bit less foam, and I regret it because you get the sags in your card, and you don't want your card to sag in like one spot. It doesn't look very nice when that happens, and it really affects how professional and finished your card looks. Like little details like that can make such a huge difference. It's like I feel like the Misty was a game changer for sentiments, because it really allowed you to like double stamp all your sentiments or your images, and you can get perfectly stamped, crisp looking images on your sentiments, and they look beautiful every time. So like the Misty is one of the tools that really makes a huge difference. And I will have some links below to where you can get the Misty, and I will put places that have coupon codes, or they will give you free shipping if you spend a certain amount, because a Misty is one of those items that is a little on the pricey side, so you want to make sure that you place a qualifying order to get free shipping. Like with, for example, Hero Arts, you get free shipping on orders over $50. And you know what? Even the Mini Misty is almost going to get you there. If you were to get the Mini Misty and the Mini Misty mouse pad, or one of the Misty tools to go with it, that would be enough to push you over the $50 limit to get the free shipping. And that's what you want to do. Shipping is expensive. It's like 10% of the cost of your craft items. So whenever possible, you should keep a wish list, and then when your wish list gets big enough, place an order that gets you free shipping. Alright, so I have a little foam sticking out here. I'm just going to use these really fantastic Tim Holtz non-stick scissors and trim that off like that. Trims beautifully. Alright, and I'm going to do the same thing again here on the back of this craft foam, and this is the same craft foam that you get to play around with your kids. Like at holiday times, when my kids were younger, I used to have them make placemats out of it. So we would make placemats together for like Thanksgiving or Christmas. And then it's not very expensive, so you don't have to keep those placemats forever. Because while your kids did make them, you can take a nice picture, put it in your bullet journal or your scrapbook and have the picture forever, and then you don't have to take up a lot of space in your house, saving everything that they made. Because if your mother is anything like my mother, she will tell you that you should save everything your kids make. Okay. Alright, I'm going to pull this out. This little tonic retractable craft pick is really nice for removing the backings on this stuff. And notice that I used my Teflon bone folder to really just run over the back of it to make sure I had it adhered really well. This double stick tape is pretty fabulous, and you can get double stick tape from Elizabeth Crafts at scrapbook.com. In fact, scrapbook.com I think now has their own double-sided tape, but they come in rolls and sheets of all different widths and sizes, and this stuff is perfect for adding glitter and foil. It's an inexpensive way to add foil to your projects, because I've noticed that all over the place everybody is advertising those foil laminating machines. You don't need a laminating machine to put the foil on. This double-sided tape will allow you to do it, and you can get this stuff in all different widths and huge rolls of it, or in complete sheets. So you could actually use your die cut to cut out the shape image that you want, and then out of this sticky tape on cardstock, and then you will actually have an inexpensive adhesive to adhere your foil to. You don't need to spend $100 on one of those machines. Okay, so that's that. Isn't that pretty with the gold background? That little sparkly. I probably should have cut the center out of this so I could get more bang for my buck there. Okay, so I will put that on a card front, but it definitely needs some of those sequins and maybe some white dots. So I'm just going to, oh, this is not white. This is not white, actually. This is sparkly. This is not what I thought it was. Wait, let me get a piece of paper. I thought this was a white Jelly Roll pen, but people, that is sparkle. That is sparkle. That's amazing. I was going to put some white dots, but I think I'm just going to add a few sparkles along the tips of the, I don't know if you can see that, it's very subtle. Ooh, this is even better because it sparkles. This is the first time I've ever seen a Jelly Roll pen that had sparkle. This is going on my new favorite things list for 2019. And you know what? Her hair needs some sparkle here. This is like the dandelion fairy. These are like little dandelion strands, and her wand needs sparkle. Sorry, this must have sparkle. This is actually a very tidy way to add sparkle. I didn't even know they had Jelly Roll pens that did this. And I never would have known if I hadn't gotten this month's My Monthly Hero kit. I'm just adding sparkle everywhere now. Okay, and I do think I'm going to take out my white Jelly Roll pen, which I thought was right here. Here's my white Jelly Roll pen. Oh, see the difference? This one, oh, I should have known. This one has a sparkly star, and this one says 10. The 10 is the white. I do want to add some white dots around just to give it some highlights, because the little white dots will brighten it up a little bit. So just to give it like a few spots of highlights. I'm going to like just put some white dots. It's one of those beautiful details that you can add that adds a little something special. You could actually use white paint if you wanted to, or shimmer mist, create a shimmer mist to add some white dots. This is like the equivalent of adding splatter with a paintbrush. So I'm just kind of randomly adding those around. Okay, and I did try to, there was a method to my madness. I'm trying to sweep the dandelions and the dots and the sparkle across the card like that. And it definitely has to have some of the sequins. These are clear and shiny, and I just love sequins. Alright, so multimedia matte with a quick stick. There was more than one there. That was super thick. Oh, these are like doubling up here. I think there's two here too. So I love this Believe, and I just want to make it, I think I want to do it on black with white. So let me find a piece of black. So I'll put this down. And I want to just do this Believe. I almost feel like I should do it in a sparkle, but I kind of want a little bit of white on the card. So I'm going to pull out my white embossing powder. Okay, so now I'm just going to grab my Versamark, and I will put this magnet down. So I'm just going to ink this up with my Versamark. And then close it. And then I'm going to heat emboss this. Let's try a little experiment, because you know I was debating about sparkly, but now I own a sparkly jelly pen. And what if I just go along the edges with my sparkly jelly pen, like the underneath and the left hand side of each letter. Oh, this is pretty. Be prepared to be wowed. Okay, I don't know if you can see this. If you can see this sparkle that I added there, I'm not sure you can see it, but I just sort of traced the left-hand side and underneath, and it gave that sentiment just a little bit of sparkle. Now I want to pop this up here, and I'm going to trim it off, and I'm going to put a piece of 1/4 inch foam tape. Okay, and that's going to complete my card. How pretty is that little fairy? And she's got lots of sparkle all over the place because I added sparkle everywhere once I discovered that Jelly Roll pen was sparkle and not jelly. Very nice. I actually like it. And the sequins and the paper. Like, I have so many more images to play with here. So if you don't mind, I'm going to get to doing some of these cute images, and I haven't even touched the dies yet. Super fun. Super fun little technique. Thanks so much for watching. Stop by my blog at stampingimperfection.com. I will put the links below to the Hero Arts products that I use below, so that you can check them out. They don't actually have a name. They use actually a number. So I will put that product number down there so you know what this is. Because one of the nice things about Hero Arts is that if you don't get the kit, you can still purchase the stamp set and the die and the pieces to go with it. You just get a good deal with the stamp set, or with the My Monthly Hero card kit. And the thing is, on Auto Renew, I always feel like they just sent me a free stamp set for being a customer for the past few months or year maybe. But I have a really beautiful collection of Hero Arts stamp sets, and I've been a long-time customer of them because I have stamps from Hero Arts that are at least 20 years old, so that's pretty fun. So thanks for watching. Stop by my blog at stampingimperfection.com. Check the links below if there are products you're interested in, and give this video a like, and make sure you subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.